We hope that a struggle against religious extremism in the region is vital for Afghanistan and for the future of Afghanistan and for the entire region. And because of these networks are now active in Pakistan, Afghanistan, and maybe it will have support in other countries as well.
Kathmandu, would you like to add something from Pakistan?
Yes, religious extremism is one of the main human rights issues that we have at the moment, and I would say that it precedes the religious, in its various manifestations, it precedes the troubles in Afghanistan. The persecution of Ahmadiyya minority happened much before. We had troubles in Afghanistan, and of course now there are extremist groups. They're extremely powerful. They have taken over bits of the country as well, and the government has launched active operations against them. But there's also quite a lot of sort of a wave of, for various reasons. There is an increase in intolerance in the public generally, and the government has not addressed it properly. We've had quite a few cases recently where people have been lynched because of the allegations of blasphemy. And these are all very worrying signs for the country, and we have time and again called upon the government to take concrete steps towards curbing this religious intolerance. And similarly, there are similar issues across all of the South Asian countries that we represent. We've had discussions on that, and I think it's very important that they be tackled at the state level. But it's also very important to take a look at some of these aspects across the region. There are also other manifestations of intolerance, and one thing when we look at the issue from a regional perspective is that we get a very different picture of the situation, because one group that might be a majority in one country would be a minority in another country. And the people in the region have to realize this, that there have to be certain issues have to be tackled in a manner that it's addressed in every country, and we have to have that vision so that we can protect human rights better across every country.
Yeah, Maldives has a population of just around 400,000 people. It's probably the most homogeneous society on earth. I mean, same ethnic background, same language, same religion. So you would expect that there wouldn't be any of these controversial issues in Maldives. And there wasn't till very recently. But now, religious extremism in Maldives is catching up to an alarming level. And Maldives has become a recruiting ground for ISIS. Yes, and Maldivians have died in these conflicts. And recently there was a young newly married couple who had gone there and then got killed themselves. So just to say that even in a small society like this, when you have these people coming up with their ideas and things, even our mindset gets destroyed. So, I mean, okay, from number of people perspective, this may not be a big issue in South Asia, but I think it is overall it is an issue, because that's a trend that is going on.
You can take that.
I think it's not different from other countries when you come to Sri Lanka. And people are always asking how come a religion like Buddhism can be extreme, such a peaceful religion. But it's the reality in Sri Lanka. And it's not only the reality in Sri Lanka, but I mean other Southeast and South Asian countries such as Myanmar, as well as Thailand and other Indo-Chinese countries. It's becoming a reality. So in Sri Lanka, Buddhism is becoming violent, and the latest incident is that I mean riots unleashed by these extreme Buddhist forces in the southern part of Colombo, or about 50 kilometers from Colombo, area called Beirut and Narugama, where nearly 300 shops and houses were burned down, and I mean among the Muslims, which is a Sinhala and Muslim coexistence for many years, and there was no such issues of religious issues. But suddenly those things erupted because there is a strong tendency of religious extremism in Sri Lanka, and violence is unleashed against the two specific groups, minority group, that is Muslims and Christians. So every day there is a information, or there is an incident. There are incidents taking place, either church is being burned, or church is being attacked, or the Muslim community is going through some sort of harassment. I mean, in Colombo or suburbs and elsewhere in the country, this is becoming a normal or becoming a common tendency. So this is kind of a new tendency after in the post-war situation, because during the wartime the things are not that large. I mean, I don't say that there was no religious conflict during the wartime or civil wartime, but this is really accelerated soon after the war, because the Sri Lanka is also growing or developing as we want to develop a nation state. So when the nation state is developed, the minorities in being harassed and marginalized, and then hegemonic forces want to take over the entire control of the country. So that's what's happening in Sri Lanka. The Sinhala Buddhism, the hegemonic identity of the country, wants to take over the entire power, entire stake of economy and everything, and they are continuously harassing the minorities, either religious or ethnic. So it's growing in Sri Lanka, and it's very unfortunate.
Would you like
You
to
said Muslims and Christians. How about the Hindus? Are they facing?
Well, they already, I mean, destroyed the Hindus. I mean, what I'm saying
Oh,
is,
they have wiped out.
the Tamils were defeated by 30-year-old war. So once they defeated, I mean, that community will not rise up again, right? So then the only left is the Muslims and the Christians. So I mean, that's why I said it's a hegemonic ideology, hegemonic power, which wants to control the rest of the minorities, irrespective of whether it's ethnic or religious. So that's what's happening in Sri Lanka. They clearly want to control, and you can see this whole phenomenon is also being in the discourse of the forthcoming presidential election also. Who is going to take the side of these extreme forces? They also, I mean, try to win the presidential candidate into the side of the extremists, and then they want whoever the candidate to carry the agenda of the extreme groups, and they are in return they are assuring we will give you this much of votes. So this is becoming a serious situation, and we are going towards a polarized and divided society. So it is, and also in addition to that, Sri Lanka, Myanmar also trying to build a link with each other, these Buddhist groups, and also they want to connect with Hinduism in India and Nepal as well. So there's a new developments are taking place in South Asia. I mean, it is clearly against Muslims, it's clearly against Christians in all these 4 countries.
Terry, would you like to add something?
I think we covered a lot about, in general
You
here.
can be very brief, but
In brief about this ethnicity situation or religious problem, as you mentioned, it is growing very much in the east of Sri Lanka also. This incident, what my colleague mentioned, was in the southern part, that is close to Colombo. And if you take the Ampara district, it's very much in blooming. Then there we do have this Islamic fanatic groups also, I would say. They are trying to have problems within the Islamic groups. So, like recently it was announced that the Jihad is trying to build places in the east of Sri Lanka. So that's another pro-Muslim area. So within the majority there is a minority there. So the other religions are minority in that Islamic district or the province east of Sri Lanka.
Okay, I'll go to Khushi first. And Khushi, would you like to say something about Bangladesh and then I'll come to India?
Okay. I think the major issue is majoritarianism, which is whether it is religion, ethnicity, or culture. So when you have a majority rule and the majority dominance being pushed, it's actually marginalizing those who are not from that majority locality, and that's the same in Bangladesh too. And in Bangladesh we can see the advent of, I think, which is a global phenomenon now. Bangladesh is the most majority country, and we see that and that's when we had a discussions came out very clearly that ethnic and religious minorities were shrinking in numbers. So we had less over the years from what we had previously. And I think what we wrote here is very clear that with pluralism and diversity, which were the hallmark of this region, is being threatened when this is happening. And women's rights, freedoms and autonomy, no matter which religion is the majority religion, is under threat when we bring in a particular form of this is the kind of religion that needs to be practiced. It's not like before. People would practice whatever their religion was in the kind of sect or belief that they would like to believe in. This region also had a lot of syncretism. I think this trying to break that syncretism and create only a uniform pattern of what religion should be and how it should be practiced has the most negative impact and effect on women. And we feel that most, I think that's the same. I don't know.